Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning, and I'm a veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job in professional wrestling except selling popcorn. And I'm joined, as always, by a man who doesn't jog very often, and my co-host, Zane Riley. Zane, how are you doing today?
What up, Jake?
Obviously, the topic of discussion has affected you deeply, my friend.
Very much so.
And I'm a little bit concerned why you brought a staple gun to a podcast. You know this is audio format, right?
Man, it's not even gonna get to the bone.
Well, let's get to our non-wrestling fan who's joined us today. A very funny comedian who just burst onto the scene here in the Charlotte comedy scene. One of my favorite guys to see out and about, especially all the open mics in the area. Devin Harris. Devin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and before we delve into this, I want to know what your exposure is to professional wrestling before we get into this very conversation about a niche folk hero, as I would like to refer to him as.
Folk hero? He's not Paul Bunyan.
Well, he's legendary.
He's kind of John Henry. Maybe you're right.
But what was your exposure? Like, have you heard of any of the names? Or what is your general knowledge of professional wrestling?
Like, as far as my knowledge of professional wrestling, I didn't watch a lot of professional wrestling as a kid. All that I was exposed to was like WWE. I knew like the Hardy Boys. Okay. I knew Hardy Boys. I knew Rey Mysterio. But then like...
What was the thing that never intrigued you? What was the thing that never clicked with you? I'm just curious.
I think my parents kind of thought like it was violent.
Okay.
So I didn't watch it as younger. And then as a teenager, I watched like TNA a little bit.
Okay.
So
because it had TNA in it, and you're a young kid.
No,
like, maybe I see some boobies. Maybe I see some boobies.
I don't know that it was like it was more accessible somehow. I feel like TNA the backstories weren't as established, like because most of the wrestlers weren't that old. But like I knew like the Undertaker had been around for like 30 years, so I didn't know what the hell was going to be going on with the Undertaker. But TNA guys, I would catch TNA occasionally.
Okay, so you're of probably that generation that I refer to as the younger brother generation. See, I was in that sweet spot where like parents didn't. You're like, oh yeah, watch wrestling, it's fine, Hulk Hogan, whatever. And then we're seeing like Sable's like boobs that have just got like paint over top of them, and like people are getting bloody and people are getting like sacrificed and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, parents finally took notice, like, hey, we can't let like your younger brother watch it, but since you're already exposed to it at 14, I guess we got to let you watch it. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's those people that were like 8 when all that was happening. So there's like a big gap. Yeah. And that's, I think, why a lot of like viewership dropped, because all those people that would have grown up and bought the t-shirts like I did at 16, 18 when we got buying power, those people never connected with wrestling because they were told too violent, too sexual, too whatever. So, but with too violent, too sexual, we get to the day's topic of discussion.
A new shitty tag team name.
We delve into not just wrestling shows, but we also do films and documentaries that feature professional wrestlers. And this is a kind of a hidden gem. Can I say hidden gem? Will we class?
I mean, it depends on how you define the word gem.
Okay, well, it's definitely hidden.
Diamond in the rough.
Sure. Depending on your value of diamonds.
It's definitely hidden from plain sight,
yes.
But it is available on YouTube, and I will put the link's been up on the How Did This Get Booked website for people to view it and stuff like that. But the topic of discussion today is the documentary, with air quotes, because I saw a documentary around that, New Jack. Hardcore.
Making the Murderer 2.
And here's why I'm glad you're on board, Devin. Not because you're an African American gentleman, but but also too, you graduated from Howard, if I'm not mistaken. If I saw your Facebook, obviously, would you say that you ran into an individual like New Jack while you were studying at Howard University?
Oh, yeah, like, people in D.C. are crazy, man.
Maybe you ran into New Jack.
I might have. Like, just the characters that you'll meet, like, in a larger city, like a larger urban city, I guess. Like, people have threatened to kill my friends before. Yeah. Like, over the ability to use the bathroom. Or, I remember one time we were in this restaurant, and this guy, it was like a takeout restaurant where you get, like, Chinese food. and this guy just went on the worst misogynist rant I've ever heard in my life. He's like, they need the dick more than we need the hole. And he went on this rant for at least 15 minutes, right?
Okay.
And at the end of his rant, he turned to the girls that me and my friends were with and asked for $1. So like, you just meet characters.
Who needs the hole now, asshole?
Right.
But in your travels and being around all kinds of different people and stuff like that, would you say that you've ever met anybody
educated? When you're around all your educated people at your college, were any of those educated people psychopaths with staple guns?
Anybody like have you run into anybody like New Jack?
So two of the smartest guys that I'd ever met at Howard. One of this guy's legendary. If you ask anybody who went to Howard,
is this the Van Wilder of Howard University?
If you ask anybody who went to Howard from 2012 to 2016 or 2017, our freshman year there was this guy and he called himself Zone.
I love him. No, my name is Zane. You guys didn't know it to Howard, by the by.
His name was Zone Lacito.
Okay.
And I'm also Hispanic.
And it was Lacito because he was a drug dealer who laced his drugs.
Okay.
So you'd say he's notorious. He's not famous, but he's notorious.
He was very notorious and infamous. There were so many stories about Zone, like from him kicking down an RA's door and spraying him with a fire extinguisher to his numerous freestyle raps in the cafeteria where he would like basically do like pagan chants.
Yep. Has New Jack ever met Zone?
See that's the thing, because I come from, because you come from South Carolina, Lancaster, St.
Lancaster, South
Carolina.
Carolina.
I've wrestled there many times. It's a small community. I grew up in a small town in Iowa. Now I've met New Jack, so I'm just trying to get a beat if you've met an individual. When you meet somebody that crazy sometimes, but at the same time too, there's something going on a different level. Sometimes you question, am I just not as smart as you, or have I not figured out things like you have?
And knowing how smart that Zone actually was, because he was so smart that he could get he had been kicked out of other schools. But he was so smart that his test scores would get him into other places. I think he got kicked out of UCLA, Rutgers, but schools would still take him because he was that smart.
He just hadn't found his Robin Williams yet.
Howard, here I come.
But because we grow up in small communities and everything's pretty, okay, this if you do this, there's good people.
It's pretty slow.
Yeah, it's whatever.
White. It's pretty white. That's what you're trying to say.
I was gonna say black and white. But
you're going for white.
But
not even white, but it's pretty normal,
run of the mill. Yeah. Everybody's just average. They just work hard. They do their jobs, and that's just how it is.
They go to church.
But like I said, you meet that crazy person that is smart, and you start questioning everything that you know about your life, because he obviously is successful at what he does. Because that's one thing I forgot about this whole documentary. How good New Jack is at cutting promos and doing interviews, and see the clips of the interviews that they put in here is just 1/100th of some of his best work, from ECW and Smoky Mountain, and it kind of kicks off kind of chronological where we talked about when he got to Smoky Mountain and the infamous legend of Jim Cornette said, "Hey, do something that's going to piss white people off."
Oh yeah.
And he basically said he wants to give a shout out to my homeboy OJ Simpson. That's two less we have to worry about. Keep up the good work. Now, let me tell you about the area that he did that in, because I wrestled that area in Southwest Virginia and West Virginia. Still very racist to this day. Still. As of 2007, they had a sign up that said, "Don't let the sun go down on your black ass. Welcome to so-and-so Virginia." To this day, the school Double Doors is basically a big Confederate flag.
Wow.
To this day. And that's where he was doing most of the stuff for Smoky Mountain.
Yeah.
That's
Dude
why
was fearless.
Yeah, and for someone like Jim Cornette to be like, no, we need some black people to
Right.
piss white people off, so I can make some money off of it.
Exactly.
Which is the way pro wrestling works. Is which I don't know if you understand. Like, you get a guy that people don't like, and then you have some sort of hero character step in.
The heel is the bad guy, right?
Yes, exactly. And then you
Okay.
have the babyface, who is usually however you identify them with. Like, so
Right.
you can't do that, and then the fight ensues in the ring. So,
Okay.
but yeah. So I can only imagine how this place was in 1994.
Yeah.
Just
It had to be ridiculous, man. That dude had to be fearless to do that. To
yeah.
just because like that has real life consequences, and it's not WWE where it's pretty sterilized. Like that looked like he was just at the American Legion, wrestling somebody.
Yeah, and that was obviously that footage was obviously from Smoky Mountain because it had a young D'Lo Brown in it.
Yeah, it did have D'Lo Brown.
And that was about that time period and stuff like that. So it's basically just high schools, armories,
Yeah.
and basically some of those places don't have security, or there might be a cop there. Where WWE,
Right.
they have a security staff. It's very insulated. It's hard to
Exactly.
even make contact with the wrestlers before and after the
Right,
shows.
gotta have tickets to get in.
But
all kinds
here-
of different things.
Parking in the same parking lot, sometimes using the same restroom as fans.
Yeah.
Like, it just, fearless.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think people put that too much in perspective. People are like, oh, I can't believe you say that. Like,
Right.
nobody takes a step back and zooms out and thinks,
Yeah.
God, you gotta be fucking fearless to say this.
Yeah.
Especially in that area, because he's also like traveling late at night.
Right.
So all it takes is a flat tire.
You get caught on the back road and
they're all back roads.
right, exactly.
Like-
You get caught on the road and that's the end of you. You just got murdered in West Virginia.
But yeah, like, it's just unbelievable. Like, what do you think about it when he was describing that? Was that something you, like, if you were doing your art, like, you're a comedian, you travel
Right.
around, let's say you got booked in one of those places, would you be just as fearless about the things you said?
I mean, you kind of have to be. You got to be true to what you are. If that's what you are, to say. Because, I guess I'm more of the racial comedian in the Charlotte scene. So, like, if what you do is to talk about that stuff, then you got to talk about it, because you're not going to feel... You're going to feel uncomfortable talking about it, but you're going to feel even more uncomfortable doing something that doesn't feel like you. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, New Jack, he's like a antagonist, man. He would, if he was, like he said, like, talking about the gangsters, they don't like nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have, if they were in Compton, they would give a shout out to David Duke. Because they don't like anybody. It didn't matter who it was. Their message wasn't a racial one. It was a, we don't like anybody. We're misandrist.
What are your thoughts on New Jack when we talk about Smokey? Like, what are your impressions of New Jack initially, Zane?
I wanted to know how Ricky Morton and him just interacted. With all the interactions I've ever had with Ricky Morton and how he's spoken to me, I want to know how they put shit together, and those type of conversations between Robert and New Jack and Mustafa and Ricky. That's what I want to fucking know.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, yeah, back then when, like, because Ricky, like, he likes to have fun. Like, hey, greenhorn. Let me tell you, like, he'll mess with somebody like that. And New Jack doesn't seem the type of guy you would mess with.
No.
Well, Ricky just seems like the type of guy who would mess with everybody.
Yeah, right. There had to be some conflict there.
But I'll tell you what, though, I can't remember what show I was at. They were actually on the same show together, and nothing but, like, big hugs.
Yeah.
Like, Ricky, Robert, how the fuck you doing? Like, and they were just so happy, like, New Jack, like.
They were like, what?
Yeah. Like,
What did they say?
New Jack.
Yeah.
Oh.
That would obviously be Robert Gibson.
Obviously.
What? I gotta ask. Okay, two things. What happened to his head? Did they ever explain that?
Life.
First thing is what happened to his head.
Well, that spirals into our next topic of discussion with the staple gun.
Right.
Stapling things to the head. But obviously, I feel like we can discuss it since the last episode with Secrets of Professional Wrestling.
We've already
We've already exposed. One of the things that you do in professional wrestling is, was the idea of cutting your forehead open
With the
to
razor
bleed.
blade.
Yeah, and that's basically what he's done.
But for so long.
So many times.
So many times. And the thing is,
the same spot.
the old school way is up and down.
Okay.
And doing it a lot.
Right.
But really, most people, it's just one little across.
Right.
Now, the old times, it was like, like just basically like a scrub brush.
Yeah.
Okay.
A bunch of little ones, and you do that over time, and obviously he's working the territory system. So if he's getting blood for a Monday show, they're gonna have the same match. He's gonna get blood on a Tuesday show, and then he's got to get blood for a Wednesday show.
And black people are more likely to keloid, so
but
that's how you get that.
Yeah,
but less likely to bleed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which means he has to go even harder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like 2 minutes in, he talks about how he has 4 homicides. Yeah, and that's just never brought back up. Like, I was a bounty hunter. I have 4 justifiable homicides on my website, and he just keeps it pushing.
And now let me tell you about my earlier days.
Right, like
I was born
in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes,
he was born in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
You might run into him at a show.
I might.
Like, oh shit, it's New Jack.
What's up, New Jack? I saw your documentary. I love you, big fan.
Please don't cut me. Don't cut yourself.
About me on the podcast, man.
Yeah, I talk real good about you. Real good.
We were all
Only positive. Only positive.
Now the 2 other white motherfucker I was talking about.
I told him to stop talking about you.
I don't know if those honky motherfuckers were all like, fuck them.
Fuck them. But yeah, where was it going with? But yeah, he was a bounty hunter, and they just. That's the thing about this documentary. I should say about the director that did this. He also directed another documentary of this level called 101 Reasons Not to Be a Pro Wrestler, I believe was the name of it. And
also had New Jack on it, didn't it?
Yes, it did. And let me tell you why the guy who did this, why this is so crazy and out of nowhere. This guy, he made the 101 Reasons of Why Not to Be a Pro Wrestler, and my boss, Michael Bakikio of High Spots, he loved the title of it and just bought like thousands of copies of that documentary just because of the title alone. Sold a bunch of them. Very happy with the success of it. Wanted to do some more business with this director. So he had another project he was working on where he gets guys, that are coming down from the top and guys that are on their way up and guys who are like top stars in the indies, and it was going to be called like Pro Wrestling Dreams. Once again, the other documentary just had a great title, didn't care what it is, just kind of slap it together. It was definitely no Tickled documentary. Right. It was no like Beyond the Mat documentary. Right. It was just kind of let's just get guys in a room, talk to them for 20 minutes, and just get a bunch of them and cycle them through. And Michael didn't care. Is like, just produce me a product. Right. Well, the guy never produced a product. He produced this product, even though he was paid for one of the other products. So then all of a sudden, like, we're like, hey, where's this documentary you promised? Nothing ever got delivered. Then after he'd been having radio silence for like maybe a year or 2 at this time, he pops up on YouTube. This director who's taken all this money from my boss, the guy pops up on YouTube smoking a bong.
Good for him.
Now, keep in mind, this is before pot is really legal in any state.
Right.
He's just smoking out of a bong, saying, yeah, I made all these documentaries, they're great, and guess what? I'm just going to release all of them for free now. And here's this footage I filmed from this other documentary. I'm just going to post it all on YouTube.
Wow.
And it was just like, fuck it. And that's the thing. And at that time, his 101 Reasons was still selling with us pretty decently, and sales dropped. That's when YouTube got really big with everybody. So he's just like, I'm just going to put all this up on here for free. And you can't take it down because it's his. He owns it. Yeah. And then, of course,
it's not your footage to take down.
And then shortly after that, he finally sent us the footage of the documentary that he already posted online for free. So.
And then a picture of his dick.
So, needless to say...
Are we sure he's not a character?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Was he New Jack?
So, if you're wondering why some of this kind of... Because, like, we follow a nice, clear path to one point, and then just randomly we spill into talking about, like women and we're following a timeline, and you think we're going to talk each step of his career and all of a sudden he just goes, let me tell you about rats and women.
And had a very clear dissertation.
Missy Hyatt's a crazy bitch. Let's talk about it.
Just like randomly throwing stuff in there, like, and then there's like a picture, there's like a B-roll footage of him like kissing a girl, and then a little bubble that pops up that says, I hope this girl's 18. Like just random.
And that was like the one animated segment of the documentary.
They had to put some talent in that one.
There was nothing else that had that little bubble. Except for that one thought.
Like a pop-up video thing. Like, he just like, I learned how to do this. I'm just going to throw this in here for no context whatsoever.
But I don't need it anywhere else.
And then the one girl that was like, I don't really like anal.
It was just random white women.
Yeah.
I was like, no, stay away, New Jack.
Yo, this is how Get Out starts.
Which funny thing that happened off camera, Devin accidentally got locked in my bathroom. Probably thought he was in Get Out 2 because Get Out 2 would probably involve white guys filming a podcast.
Yeah.
My parents warned me about this, man.
This is that moment you've been training for. Trying to assess your situation, figure out there's a way to get out.
Like, oh shit, I've only been training for 2 weeks now.
I got warned too late, damn it.
Thanks a lot, Dad.
But just more discussion. He talks about the staple gun.
Yeah.
As Zane made a joke earlier.
He's fucking staple gun.
Yeah.
Was so casual about it.
Yeah, it was like, maybe it goes in like half an inch. Like right to your skull. But if you push in though, it'll go in your skull.
I was like, well, you're touching the skull, so that's obviously a bad thing.
Because actually it hurts more when you pull it out. Like, it still hurts, man.
Yeah, what are you trying to sell to us right now?
Stapling dollar bills to people's forehead was really part of his thing.
Do it or don't? Do I do it or do I not? What is the respectful matter here?
And then it kind of like glazes over his stage dive in ECW.
Yeah, I know how that was.
Oh yeah.
I've only seen like a clip of it, but it's insane. And that's basically where he got like permanent brain damage, and that's why he's blind in his right eye.
That was the one with.
I know he was blind.
That was the
right
one
eye.
with Vic Grimes that happened.
Yes, in Danbury, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I think I wrestled.
Which they didn't even talk about that. Even like the fact that he was like he tried to, like they showed the big fat bald white guy, the Vic Grimes guy, and like he was scared to go off this balcony,
right?
And ended up landing on New Jack's head.
Oh,
and like
damn.
he was saying, like brain matter was coming out of his nose and his ears, and so like he attempted to murder him at a show, and you can see the show and kind of see that maybe so.
Yeah,
but they just don't even talk about it in this. Like they show them as friends.
Yeah. That's the thing. This whole thing is going along and building to talk about his whole career, and like we're building to this point. We talk about obviously the stage dive with Vic Grimes, and we talk about Mustafa and getting jealous, his tag partner. They all really juicy things, and then we just get into like.
And they just stop.
No, it's just, let's talk about
these women are terrible.
These women are terrible, and now we're cut to like him doing the interview in the actual hotel room, not the hotel room bathroom.
Yes. What the fuck? And I was wondering, why is he in a Motel 6 bathroom the whole time, just leaned up against the counter?
What if at like one point you just heard him go?
I can't.
Missy Hyde's a crazy bitch, right?
I can't lie like I didn't expect it.
Yeah, like I was kind of let down. It never occurred. Like that's the shit. That's the juicy shit I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's just...
Oh, this was scattered throughout the documentary. The sound effects. The sound effects really killed me, because there would be moments where he would talk and he would say something and he'd be like, "Damn, that was real," and then it would be like a jail cell door closing. I'm like, what the hell was that?
There's a jail cell door in your hotel.
And then I had to stab him. Then hear like a scream, like a scream sound effect.
I was like, why did you put that there?
And then talking about his pregnancy scare, and then like a baby crying.
Yes. And okay, so the pregnancy scare was. The girl, she was a white girl, I assume, since she...
Aren't they all?
I only assume that because she used having sex with a black...
It's my personal preference.
She used having sex with a black man as leverage.
Yeah.
Against...
If she was a black lady, she just said another man.
She used that against... Who is she using the leverage against?
I don't know.
Because she threatened New Jack, I think, with the baby, but she said, I'm going to go have sex with another black man. He is one. He doesn't care. That doesn't bother him.
If you don't date me like solely, I'm gonna go have sex with another black man and tell everybody you're the daddy.
Exactly, like that's on script for you.
As if it was like there's only 2 black men in the entire universe, and obviously if I say it's you, well, it's definitely not him. Okay, well then
It must be New Jack.
It must be New Jack. Like he's the only black man impregnating white women.
Right.
Oh, we got another New Jack baby here.
He is covering some ground.
Yeah. All those white bitches.
Which, surprisingly, since there's so many like pro wrestlers that have been in Jerry Springer, why didn't he just like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I'll get a payday for the Jerry Springer episode.
Yeah, he could have done that.
And then he just, after talking about women, just randomly started talking about backyard wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, those backyard wrestling scenes were in fucking tense. They're just wrestling on the side of a hill and like slamming each other on like tree branches and shit.
Is that what backyard wrestling
No, it's not!
I didn't think so. I was like,
first off, there was no backyard. They were in the woods.
They were just in the woods throwing each other against trees.
Yeah, that's just other dumb white shit. This isn't like even backyard wrestling.
He just like bought footage from bum fights. That's all he did. It's just like B-roll footage from bum fights.
It looked like an even more bootleg version of Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, oh yeah. So Kimbo would have fucked around with that shit.
Exactly.
Nah, man, let's go over here on some even ground.
Yeah, but it's the white version, so it's like Kenneth Slice.
Yeah.
Kenneth Slice the Third.
Yeah.
Challenging other white boys in his cul-de-sac.
It was so weird.
Yeah, like he
threw the dude down
just
a hill.
rolls down that fucking hill, and then he jumps off of that little cliff to do a leg drop on him. What the fuck is wrong with you?
But that was like the only wrestling move that they did in that whole montage.
I don't know. That was I forgot what's that move when you put somebody on your shoulders and then you throw them.
Oh, your little fall away slam deal.
Yeah, he fall away slammed the dude onto a thick tree branch.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you
Like
not
just
have
tree
spinal
branches are just kind of like falling down trees that intersect. He's like, all right, here looks good. Bam.
This is a good place to throw somebody.
Yep.
But like during this time, like this is about 2006, 2005. Which, by the way, talking about backyard wrestling is a very 2005-ish question. By the way, like nobody's talking about that anymore. But at this time, like backyarders were able to get wrestling rings.
Really?
So like these guys are backyarders to backyarders.
Yeah. These are backwoods wrestlers.
Like the Young Bucks right now have like a ring at their house right now, wrestling in their backyard. Like they're more legit than these backyarders are. They're looking down at those backyarders.
They're interviewing the backyarders like, what do you think of those other backyarders? Like,
These are the backyard
they can't
indies.
get in the ring with me.
Yeah.
These are the backyard indies, and then everybody else is the backyard pros.
He had so much animosity towards backyarders. I will kill a backyarder. I was, damn.
He kind of almost did.
yeah.
Which now we circle back to the staple gun after we talk about backyard wrestling. That's where we get into the whole discussion, and then we get like a country rock commercial.
Which was the best fucking part. That was an awesome promo. And Iceberg, whom we know, or at least I definitely know him. Mm-hmm. You know Iceberg? I've
never had any interaction with him whatsoever.
Yeah, he's fucking big ass white meatball.
Excuse me, no. I was still thinking of Vic Grimes. Iceberg, yes, I have. I met him a small handful.
Yeah,
of times.
he's an Atlanta wrestler right now.
Yes, I get him confused.
Yes, but I thought it was just real crazy that they talked about him in this podcast, this documentary.
Yeah,
they cut this really awesome promo on Iceberg. They fucks up take one. Amateur.
Mother, tell me about country rock. I'm gonna beat your ass. Like,
if it's any bad hillbillies or
I'm gonna come in here with my boots and my jeans and my button-up shirt and my hat. I'm gonna kick the shit out of everybody.
I'm gonna give me some tobacco. I was like, what the hell?
One of the best promos ever done.
And like I said, like just 1/100th of like some of his best work. You know what I'm saying? Like you can walk up to him on the street and he could cut something that good right now. Like hands down.
So do wrestlers write promos?
Oh, they just usually run off the top of their head like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what he was doing, was just going off his head. And he was smart enough to keep referencing the place that they're wrestling at.
Right.
To put them over so that way the people that run the building, they said the name of my place several times. Oh,
and
that's,
To put them over is like big up.
You make them look good.
It's like a compliment. Yeah.
It's like a big up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Big up.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Shout out. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Translate it to hip hop.
But instead of Brooklyn, it's the country rock.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
But big ups to it nonetheless.
Big ups to the country rock.
Big ups to the country rock. You heard me?
Exactly, but that's the thing, is like you try and do those things to get people to buy tickets, but like you kind of have a idea how you're going to end. Like sometimes you have a catchphrase you're trying to get to.
Okay.
Or you just kind of rambling
like Ric
off.
Flair Woo.
Yeah, like you're just trying to get to how we get to there, and
Okay.
then sometimes you just it's a little bit more like improv. Like you start with a suggestion of a word, and then you just kind of mentally take yourself there and just embody the character.
Right, you just rant and rave until you get there.
Exactly, until you deliver to that end point where you want to be and make that final point. You might have a couple bullet points, you might have one or two lines, but usually it's just kind of right off the head, flowing through.
Okay, so the good promos, you really have to be that crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta be pulling from like the darkest corners of your mind. Like
That's just your inner psyche showing how fucked up you are.
How real crazy you are, yeah.
hence why maybe New Jack was so good at it.
Because he was legit fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there are some people who seem crazy because the system is messed up. No, New Jack is just crazy.
No, New Jack messed up the system.
New Jack is why other people are crazy.
Yeah.
But just a perfect example, like New Jack, like if you know how to cut a good promo, you got a good entrance, and you do a couple things that people want to see, you could wrestle forever.
Because you never see him actually legit wrestle.
Yeah.
But you always
Yeah.
want to see him come out with a garbage can and
Come
hit,
to the music.
yeah,
Natural
maybe
Born
pull out the
Killers.
guitar, hit somebody with it, or hit the staple gun.
Right.
Like you just have to have a couple things that people want to see you do in the ring.
Okay.
But if you can cut a good promo and you have a good entrance, like you will get booked until you're like 80.
Really?
Like Ric Flair could be
Wrestle
booked.
till he dies.
Yeah, because he knows how to cut a good promo. He's got a good entrance, and as long as he can slap on a figure four and a couple chops,
Right.
he could still be wrestling today.
I didn't know that the indie or underground wrestling scene was so big.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now it's probably the best it's ever been. Right now in 2005, when New Jack is talking about it, it's rather seedy.
Right.
Because there's a little bit of
You
like...
can tell. You can tell. That's not a secret.
Because he tried to kill that man in front of 8 people.
Because there's almost aggravated assaults happening.
Yeah, for a long time, he tried to kill that man.
Which one you talking about, Vic Grimes?
No. The one video they showed of him looked like he shanked that guy a couple times.
Okay, so he was actually stabbing him.
Yeah.
That was the one. Like, let me pull my notes with that because like I knew about the Gypsy Joe one, but it's this other one that happens.
Well, and there was also another story when he was in ECW. He wrestled this kid named Mass Transit.
Yes.
It was a young kid,
Okay.
but like 400 pounds.
Right.
And he was. I can't remember the reason he did it. I can't remember if he asked him if like the blade was fake or if he asked him to cut him for him because he was scared.
No, he asked him to cut him.
Okay.
Because basically, I'm trying to remember because I think it was Devon and Mass Transit versus New Jack and Mustafa, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a situation where like he was subbing in. They needed somebody last minute. They were just going to throw him out there, but he wanted to do. But New Jack talked about it in this documentary, and basically, I think it might have been in the bonus or something like that. But he was discussing that Mass Transit wanted to do a couple things to make himself look good,
Right.
and New Jack's like, "Well, I'm supposed to beat you. Like you're supposed to make me look good."
Right.
And then he also too he wanted to gig himself because ECW is known for violence, blood. So I think
Right.
that's
That's how you get over.
Mass Transit's idea is like if I bleed really well, they'll book me more to bleed.
Okay.
That's kind of how mentality was like in the late 90s and early 2000s of those type of styles of wrestlers,
Okay.
especially in ECW and a lot of
Right.
indies guys. Like if I bleed really well, they'll always book me. There's a lot of
that
people
is
that
insane.
there's a lot of people that fell into that, and it was very true for a long people. Like if you bleed really well, like they'll book you.
What?
Yeah, like it was very very interesting psychology,
Right.
for sure. But like that was the idea, and New Jack's like, oh motherfucker, like he just tried his patience and like, you want to bleed, I'll make you fucking bleed.
Oh, that's
And it was
crazy.
and he cut him open
And
far more.
he really
He
stabbed
cut.
him.
Well, this one, it's not the video. He cut him from like side to side forehead,
Really?
like down to the white meat.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
man.
deep and just
Yeah.
bleeding profusely, and they had to like
They
rush him to the
filed
hospital.
they ended up going on to sue him. Didn't
Yeah,
they?
they sued him, and also while the suit was going on, he passed away for complications because of his weight. And then the family was saying that he was so distressed that he was eating himself out of depression.
He was already 400 pounds.
Yeah, so that's a thing. There's very much that issue and stuff like that. But the lawyer felt like he could get him off.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about pro wrestling. It's very hard to win that's why you see him get off on all of these aggravated assaults.
It's a very flimsy lawsuit.
Because like you could say like you could bring in another wrestler that's wrestled New Jack like, oh yeah, he cut me and it was of my permission and stuff like that, and it was just as bad, if not worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so it's not like he has a history of just cutting people.
Exactly. Well, he does.
But
he has an even longer history of cutting people and with their permission.
Right.
So like that. So you don't really have.
You can't really establish that character record.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know.
That's crazy.
But then this match here, though, where he like shanks that guy up, I had no idea about that.
I never knew there was video of this, but yeah, it was Thunder Wrestling Federation against William Jason Lane, and from the get go, it seemed like there was already an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if that guy, because he grabbed him weird, like he was just a weird like. Yeah, I don't know if he didn't know how to wrestle or what was going on.
It only popped him like right away.
Yeah, like it seemed like it got very stiff, and that guy, like something might have happened, like when they were going over it, like New Jack might have like, "Fuck you, we'll do whatever," and the guy's like, "Well, I'll fucking show you, motherfucker," and like kind of went out there very aggressive, and then New Jack's like, "Well, fuck, I'm not gonna deal with this shit."
Pulled out a fucking like a little box cutter or something.
Something like that, yeah. It just started
a little
fucking
X-Acto knife and.
I feel like wrestling is kind of like comedy, like in the...
You stab people?
Yes, I've stabbed many
Not
people during my set. But like at the lower levels, if you don't know what's going on, you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Because I'll watch them, like those low-level matches, and they're just like holding each other. I'm like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like the mass market wrestling that you see is more like high-flying and a lot more action, while the indie wrestling is just two guys holding each other, and then they do a thing, and now somebody's on the ground. So you're like, what the hell is this?
While cuddling.
yeah.
What you cuddling for?
But that's the thing. It takes you a while to develop who you are and your style and all that stuff. And it's one of those things. But yeah, if you've looked at some stuff online, Lord knows what you've looked at. You know, might have looked at some of my matches.
I watched one thing that I watched was like, have you ever heard of Anton the Great? He was like a Canadian wrestler, and he wrestled this.
Oh, you're talking about the Antonio Inoki beatdown?
Yeah.
Inoki beat the shit out of him.
I watched that, and he just beat the hell out of him.
Beat the fuck out of that fat guy.
Same situation, except with a razor blade.
Right. Okay.
So now we're on the same page.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's just like it's a script, and then it just goes sideways.
It is no longer a script.
Right. Okay.
Which is basically what's kind of happened with all the stuff with New Jack. It's just like
he's just going off.
Because the thing is, too, you got to protect yourself because, you know, New Jack has value. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I'm a guy, like, I'm not going to look dumb, and you're going to film this, and you're going to put this clip online of, like, oh, here's New Jack looking like a punk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
this guy doesn't know what he's doing, so fuck you. I'm going to protect my value because that's how I make my money.
Right.
You know?
So I pay my lawyers to get me out of jail.
Exactly.
So, like, how dangerous would you say, like, professional wrestling really is?
Like, now? Because comparatively,
I mean, then and now.
Well, see, it'll like when we talk about like a lot of hardcore wrestling and stuff like that. Like to me, I really think about how easily that could go sideways.
Right.
And there's also like there's a lot of guys that I'm surprised are still walking. Like I'm surprised we didn't have more tragedies when hardcore wrestling was extremely popular in the early 2000s and late 90s. I'm surprised we didn't have more tragedies. I feel like we were very lucky as far as that goes. Now, wrestling, as far as like, you know, like a lot of high spots and moves and flips and bigger moves, I think we've all kind of readjusted because of the idea of CTE and concussions and stuff like that. I think we've kind of changed.
More aware.
We've moved away from kind of some of that hardcore wrestling as well, but also too, a lot of like the flips and stuff like that. I think it's very hard on your body. Like a lot of guys are blowing knees out, and guys that are known for flipping
can't do it as much.
Once they blow their knees out, it's very hard for them to adapt.
Right.
You know, it's one of those things. But like I said, go back to the thing of like as long as you can cut a promo and have a good entrance. Right. Some guys, some of the things only they can do is just flip.
Right.
Now, if you take away the few things that people want to see in the ring, and you can't cut a good promo and you don't have a good entrance,
then
you're kind of stuck.
Dead in the water.
So, but and those injuries happen a lot. A lot of guys, and so there's always the big concern like when somebody's going to miss. But luckily, everybody's been very careful and very knowledgeable, and we have a lot of people that can do all the things and can teach people how to properly do the flips properly, so we can at least do them safely. But like people are doing a lot right now, but at the same time too, I think we might be going to an era where storytelling is more important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
okay.
I think that everybody can do the flips, everybody can do the spots, but the way to differentiate yourself almost now, is storytelling.
Being able to tell a good story.
And that's going to last you longer than anything else. And then you can kind of string along some of your bigger stuff over the course of a year, as opposed to cramming all into one match, so people can just see that right there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's still dangerous no matter how you do it, but you have to figure out what level of risk and what level of danger that you're willing to take. Like, I've got a match coming up, and I'm trying to think of, like, I want to do this move, but I don't know how well they're going to take this move.
Right.
And then I have to talk to them, like, do you feel comfortable doing this? And if they say yes, but if they don't, well, here's another thing that's kind of dangerous too. Like, there's a couple things. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, let's cross this off.
So there's not rehearsal, is there?
I mean, we go over what we're going to do, but the thing is, we know the basics on how we're going to land and how we're going to do this.
Right.
Hey, if I do this, I'm going to grab you here. But some of the greatest matches of all time, like, I just found out that Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, they only went over really one spot.
Yeah.
And that, like, they just rehearsed one spot, and then everything else, like, we'll probably do this. Here's something we might do.
Okay.
We'll figure it out there.
Yeah.
So, like, they just do, and it's one of the greatest matches ever. And they just kind of like, well, let's just figure this out. Let's just do this. Here's another thing, like, and just go out there real loose and kind of know what each other's going to do anyways. And it was just remarkable. And both of them, like, physically were, like, destroyed. Like, Shawn Michaels had, like, bad knees. Kurt Angle had bad neck. Like, it was just, like, they were just, like, not in their prime physically, but they were still able to pull off a great story.
Right.
Because of the story they were telling. So, but, like, they just kind of went out there and did it. It's all varying degrees. And then there's Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. He faxed the match to him the night before. Or a couple weeks before. I'm like, here's what I want to do in this succession, in this order, and how we're going to do it.
Right.
And that's just, sometimes they rehearse through the whole thing. Like, Macho Man was very detailed and to the point, especially for some of his biggest matches. Other matches, he'd probably just call it in the ring, but other matches, he's like, nope. Detailed to the point, exactly. We're going to do this at this minute. We're going to do this at this minute.
Okay.
So it's all varies. It's people's personal preferences.
Yeah, I think the storytelling thing is like why I was never big into wrestling, because it was like there's so many storylines that are established years ahead, and it can be like it's hard to like catch up. So I didn't know what the hell was going on.
That's kind of on the performer as well. Is that whenever you tune into a program, it's not like tuning into The Wire at like season 3.
Right.
Like, I'm so lost. I don't even know what any of this means. But the idea of the performer, especially at an indie level, is that when people walk through the door that day, they have to understand that, hey, these guys don't like each other.
Right.
But these guys are good guys. And that's where you, like, the independent wrestlers that independent shows have to do a very hard job of making very clear, here's the rules, here are the good guys, here are the bad guys, and we're trying to build to this in the end. And then we kind of start all over next time. And then we kind of start all over next time. But when you get on TV, sometimes it's like we have to do episodic. But if you don't update people every week,
they'll be lost.
And that's why you see, like, recently, like, they do recap videos of what happened the week before. So that way in the first 5 minutes, you know what's going on.
Right, okay.
Which, WWE allegedly stole from TNA, which I've heard. So you were on point by watching TNA. That's why it's more accessible.
I did remember them being like, okay, so this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Now they're going to fight.
But yeah, I never saw that footage of New Jack like stabbing. So the Gypsy Joe one though,
that was ridiculous.
Beats that old man's ass.
Oh.
And the dude was like 60, 70 something.
He died last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Died last year.
But he said he was really old.
He was old then. He was still wrestling up until he died.
69, 70.
69. Dude.
Yeah.
He beat the hell out of him.
Just that one hit with the baseball bat across the side,
was
back
enough.
of his head.
But
he still got up. He still stood on his feet.
Yeah, that guy is crazy.
Yeah. Just
And why was he no-selling them?
That's what New Jack felt was happening. And I didn't really see it that way.
Not from the clips there. I thought he sold it enough.
He sold it enough. New Jack was pretty stiff on the clothesline, and obviously he can't bump as fast anymore.
Right.
But New Jack threw that, and then he seemed to be
falling
down.
Okay.
He seemed like he was doing everything okay, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, New Jack just had enough of it.
Yeah.
And just lost it. So
you think you would be more accommodating for a 69-year-old
Yeah.
guy? You like realize he can't move as fast.
It blew my mind that he didn't know, being a hardcore wrestler, who Gypsy Joe was until he wrestled Gypsy Joe.
Yeah.
Is he like legendary?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a legendary guy.
He's also a folk hero.
Yeah. Yeah, not as heralded.
Yeah.
Not as well.
It's more like the Blue Ox than he is.
Okay.
Paul Bunyan.
Then he is Paul Bunyan.
But yeah, I saw that before, and then I didn't realize that was a few years earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always heard about the Gyps Joe one. It's rough to watch.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
And it's always these really super small shows in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That they just do this.
Yeah. I feel like it's more... People feel like they can probably get away with it more than if it's like on
less
national.
witnesses.
Yeah. And then it starts getting a little shady. Like, what really happened?
Yeah.
But there was no doubt about that.
Yeah, he whooped his ass.
Yeah.
He beat the hell out of him. I want to... The drugs. The drugs.
Yeah, let's talk about drugs, yes.
You mean that one line of cocaine's a great drug? Cocaine's a great drug.
I was like, did he get that from Chappelle's show? Did
Chappelle's show got from him.
at that point?
You're Wikipedia like, did Chappelle's show happen before this or after this? Did Chappelle steal this from him, or is he stealing it from him?
Chappelle. And I really, when they first asked him about drugs, I really thought that he was gonna lie and say that he didn't do drugs. I was like, come on, man. There's no way to look at your behavior and say that you didn't do drugs.
When he was talking about I never saw anyone do drugs in the locker room, and I never did drugs in the locker room. I was like, this is fucking stupid. What is going on here? And he goes, because we did them all in the hotel room.
I was like, okay.
I was like, oh, God, thank Lord.
I was like,
Thank God. Did you tell me that shit happened sober back in ECW? I got some issues. I got to call somebody.
If they were able to do those things sober,
yeah, fuck you.
I don't know. I know less about the human condition than I thought. Because that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, and he told a lot of great stories about people in ECW, like the Missy Hyatt reporting like a missing persons report.
Yeah,
herself.
Oh my God.
And that doctor killing himself because of it.
Yo, that was
nuts.
some snitch. That was really a snitch thing to do. That was the height of snitching for her.
She's gonna go in the fucking Hall of Fame.
Yes, for her
snitching Hall of Fame.
For her to go to the police and have them ask if she had drugs and just, and dump them all out. And say, and not to lie about, I have conditions, but it's like, oh no, my doctor's crooked.
Yeah.
I just immediately gave him up.
Well, and here's the funny thing about New Jack. Like New Jack, he delved into stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And I recorded him.
I can see it.
I saw him doing an hour at the Punchline in Atlanta.
What did he do an hour about? Road stories?
Well, it was really cool. I should get you the DVD, Devin. I recorded it, and that's how I got the New Jack as well as I did.
I gotta see that.
But like that story, I feel like if he just kind of worked it out, put a couple punchlines in it, that's your fucking closer right there.
That is a close. That's a closer.
What's more closer than saying the guy killed himself? And then he killed himself and leave everybody on the. Oh no! All right, have a great night.
Oh, you think New Jack's got a problem with that?
He would very much enjoy that.
The Sandman story of Sandman being real fucked up, trying to go out there naked.
That's a legendary video on FanCam, and I've seen that. And nobody talks enough about Tommy Dreamer's role in that story because Sandman was out there running around like dropping his pants and whipping his dick out in front of people. Now that's like an obscenity charge, like indecent exposure. Yeah. There's clear video of Tommy Dreamer grabbing Sandman's dick and covering it.
So he doesn't get indecent exposure?
Exactly. Like, nobody talks about... Like, that's a guy...
You're the real MVP, Tommy.
Right.
Exactly. That's a company guy right there. Like, when people talk about...
Was he a promoter?
No, he's a wrestler, promoter, and
wrestling
promoter, and all that stuff. Like, yeah, he's a promoter now.
Right.
I think he was kind of promoting some of the shows back then as well. But like, people talk about how great of a good guy Tommy Dreamer is. Nobody talks enough about that story. To me, very hands-on individual.
He's a real team player. So Sandman was like a big guy for... This is ECW, right?
ECW, yes.
So he was a big guy for ECW?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was one of the top guys. And I love
Super drunk.
Yeah.
All the time.
Love the story how you talked about how Sandman called him the N-word.
Yeah.
But then I thought it was like, and then New Jack said he threw a Heineken bottle at him. Like, what, are you drinking the whitest beer possible?
Yeah. What you don't know is that Africans love Heineken.
Yeah.
Really?
That's the top African beer.
News to me.
If you ever meet a Nigerian dude, he will tell you that he loves Heineken. That's the top African beer.
Oh.
Not Heineken and Guinness.
All right.
Okay. I'll stand corrected now.
Now you know. And side note, I learned last night, because I've recently started working at a bar,
Okay.
Japanese men love Corona.
Really?
Not a fan. Hispanic guys, not so much.
No.
They like Budweiser and McUltra.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just all over.
Crazy. Crazy.
Breaking down beers by races.
That's right. The most unracial racist speak ever.
Right.
Comes another Heineken drinker.
Yeah, what if like racist white men got mad at the beers that like minorities
You were
drank?
drinking?
I don't like that they're dating our white women. I don't like that they're drinking Heinekens.
They're drinking our Budweisers.
They're taking their wives and their women's and their beers.
We gotta make Budweiser great again.
Dale Earnhardt didn't die for this bullshit.
We need to put a wall up at the freezer section at the grocery store.
You think we can get Miller Lite to put whites only on the bottle?
No,
We just change the name to Miller Whites.
The most random moment of the documentary had to be when he just randomly dissed Tupac. And that just stood out to me because it was like, why are you talking about Tupac?
What's he gonna do about it?
Yeah, because he's just going on this long thing about the Dudley Boys, and then he goes, "Well, let me tell you about Tupac."
Yeah. And isn't his characters, the character New Jack is from
New
LA.
Jack City. Yeah, New Jack City. So,
Yeah. But I'm saying like, New Jack is supposed to be from South Central, right?
Yeah.
West Coast, East Coast. So obviously he's not a Biggie guy. So
Right.
But back to just saying, gangster's got no
doesn't-
loyalty.
He doesn't like anybody.
He's on the West Coast, so he's got to be a Biggie guy.
He doesn't care. What happened to Mustafa?
He just fell off, according to this.
Yeah, it just kind of fell off and just kind of twisted out in the wind. I think they did a shoot interview.
They did a reunion show not too long ago too, within the last couple of years.
Yeah,
I saw that on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah, like one of the hardcore homecomings and stuff like that. Like, they I think they're still fine with each other. I mean,
Damn. What do you do after you flame out of professional wrestling?
Stand-up comedy.
And get booked because you have a name?
Jake Manning, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I'm not the only one. I mean, Rob Van Dam's doing it.
Yeah,
not very well.
Who else? It was another wrestler that I had heard about doing stand-up.
Jake the Snake does it.
Jake the Snake, that's who it was.
Mick Foley does it.
Yeah.
Saw Mick Foley a couple years ago. It's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just talks shit about Al Snow the whole time.
Yeah, and like Mick's worked on it a little bit. He's put a couple punchlines in there. So it's actually he's workshopped a few
He's
things.
put some effort in.
Yeah. He's actually definitely got a lot better over the years. I saw him when he first started doing it, and it was
probably
just
terrible.
It was all right, but it was just like stories.
Yeah.
But like, and I saw him recently, and I was like, oh, you put some more punchlines in there. Oh, you tighten that story up. Oh, this is almost an act now.
Right.
Where a lot of guys now, it's just rambling on.
Let me tell you about what happened 30 years ago
Yeah.
when I was on coke.
Yeah,
And let me tell you the same story I tell on a free podcast every time I'm on.
Right,
you know,
right.
Like, where like Mick kind of like has a structure and he goes ups and downs.
Okay.
So he's a little bit better than most, but he also got in earlier than most.
Right.
But he was kind of the trailblazer as far as that goes. It was like, oh, he's making money off that? Oh, okay. Yeah,
I should go do that.
Yeah. Exactly. What else can we discuss about this documentary that we haven't? I think just kind of glaze over the.
They chose the most stereotypical name possible. I know this goes back to the beginning, but when they were looking, what were the proposed names?
Oh,
Death Squad.
Death Squad was number 2, and then the Gangsters was the last one, and the first one was Lynch Mob.
Yeah,
Lynch Mob.
Which there is a Tennessee tag team today of white dudes called the Lynch Mob. but their last names are Lynch. Two brothers. Joey and something.
The anti-Lynch Mob.
Yeah.
Like, this is too on the nose, guys.
White Jack and Mustafa David is the new Lynch Mob.
Yeah, the finishers, the Doomsday alt-right.
Yeah.
So,
Still, we call the Doomsday, and then we just talk about like
Yeah.
whatever.
Make America
the alt-right
great again,
device.
figure 4.
Yeah. But did you guys see the bonus footage at all?
I watched some of it.
I didn't see the bonus footage.
He talked about like sheet riders, which is very.
Oh yeah, shit on
early-
Metzler and how Taz was one of the guys giving away stories.
Mm-hmm.
What's giving away stories?
Basically, like if there's something going on in the locker room, because there's always been like it's better now. There
Right.
always was this discrepancy with pro wrestlers. Obviously, since it's a closed-off business and we're trying to portray something and we keep things behind closed doors, there is a sense of nobody else outside of this locker room needs to know what's going on in here.
Okay.
And
Because there's an outside portrayal.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, is there's people there've never been reporters about pro wrestling because actual reporters are like, oh, this is dumb, I don't need to report this. So there was nobody reporting it for a very long time. And then all of a sudden, Dave Meltzer came along like, hey, somebody should be reporting, like, at least, like, what was the attendance? What was the gate? What were the matches? Like, somebody needs to keep a historic record of what's going on. And then also, too, like, hey, people need to know, like, this guy's going to be in Memphis. This guy's going to be, like, they're reporting what's going on.
People want to know what's
At least
happening.
what's going on in the trade.
Right.
And he was one of those guys. And, of course, obviously, as journalism goes, the more juicier the gossip, the more it's got a headline to it.
Right.
So, obviously, he's trying to figure out what's going on in the locker rooms as opposed to just the random
The story.
information that he could get from the
Right.
box office.
Right.
So, and obviously guys, and he would also do the things where he would rate matches on how good they were.
Right.
So obviously if this guy is giving you a steady stream of information, you're not going to give him a 2-star match. You're going to give him a 4-star match. You know what I'm saying? So like there was a bit of that trade-off as well. And then anybody that reads that sheets, that was before like people can just look anybody up on the internet. Mostly you read about people in those news magazines like, oh, this guy Taz, he's having great matches in ECW. I've got to get a tape. I got to see him, or when I see him, there's more excitement around this guy, and like, oh, I think this guy's so cool. And that's one of the things about pro wrestling that's interesting too. If you're already over before you walk in, before people see you, it really kind of doesn't matter. Like you don't have to have like a 5-star match. You can just have like just a regular match, and if they already see you as being a guy that, you know, that you're over with them.
That kind of colors their perception of you.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
It's like, oh, this guy's great.
They cut you slack.
Exactly.
Basically.
Like if I told you for a week how great Zane was.
Right.
And you came in and we started talking.
I'd already think Zane is great.
Exactly. Yeah. And then anything that comes out of his mouth, all he has to do is just be himself.
Right.
And then...
He would have to be terrible for me to even not like him. Okay.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that with pro wrestling. And stuff
okay.
Like that. So that's kind of one of those things that those guys did. So anybody that was going outside the locker room and doing that was seen as a betrayal because... everybody thought that they were trying to give away the business of what's going on in these private rooms.
Okay.
So there was always this, like, you know, anger towards them. But it's changed now.
Right.
You know, because everything's so open. You've got... people can look people up online.
Right.
We have wrestlers openly tweeting about what their contracts are.
Right, okay.
We have all kinds of... I mean, heck, there's sex tapes and leaks and all kinds of...
Is that why it was like... Who was that who got caught sniffing coke? It was... Iron Sheik and
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah.
And then they had like a beef.
They were feuding against each other on TV,
on public, but in private they were cool. And
in private they were friends. Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of was like a weird thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's one of the things. But now things are just so open.
Yeah,
and sometimes the guy that you're fighting at night, you're riding in the same car together.
Right.
You're working together. Like me and Caleb Conley, the idea that we actually hate each other is very hard to portray.
Right.
Okay. But at the same time too, like we don't talk to each other ever. So I guess. Right. But at the same time too, like, you know, the fact that we work in the same office, to believe that we really had a blood feud against each other is very hard because we see each other. Same thing with Zane. Like,
okay,
we do a podcast together.
Exactly, we do a podcast together. So like, it's so open now.
That was always the thing with professional wrestling, because it was almost weird, like because you kind of have to believe that it's real when you're a kid, but then people always tell you like, no, it's fake, right? And then there's you know, as like a kid, you don't believe that it's fake. Because
you want everything to be, because of that, when you're a kid, everything is very black and white.
Everything is real.
This is real, this is fake. This is not, if it's fake, it's not of my attention.
Right, and the only thing that you believe is fake is like stuff that's obviously not real, like Power Rangers. You know that's not real. Mm-hmm. But professional wrestling, you think, okay, maybe these guys do hate each other.
Mm-hmm. It's the idea of it being in the gray issue.
Yeah.
And when people can't people can't deal with gray.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and it's
gotta
very
be
hard to
black
do.
and white.
And that's why people just take that hard line. Oh, it's fake, so I don't watch it. Whatever.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they don't want to live in the gray. They don't want to
Right.
accept that things are this way or that way. And that's why I think like pro wrestlers are probably some of the most liberal people out there.
Yeah.
Is because we live in gray all the time.
Right. Okay.
Because the bad guy has to he has to believe that he is a good guy.
Right.
For it to be believable that what he's doing, why he's doing.
Right. Because if he thought he was a bad guy, he would try to change.
Exactly. And so that's the thing. So we always understand that there's multiple layers of gray in this world.
Right.
But obviously we're trying to portray, very black and white characters. This guy's bad, this guy's good. But at the same time, too, we have to bring some believability to it.
Right.
So there's always that thing, too. But that's why I think, like, wrestlers are very liberal in that sense, that we live in this world of gray. A lot of times, too, like, we're in the locker room and we have, several African-American wrestlers, an African-American referee. We have a Latino person, somebody from Mexico, in fact, that can't even speak English is on the show. We have 3 to 4 females that are wrestling on the show, and they're just not going out looking pretty in a dress.
Right, they're actually wrestling.
They're having kick-ass matches,
Okay.
having some of the best matches on the show, like to the point, like, I really got to up my game because, Heidi Lovelace had an awesome match before me. I know she's going to kill it, so I got to kill it too. So, like, that idea of just getting over what people are and just trying to produce this really great show is why that's a situation. But people just want to say real, fake, this or that.
Right.
Well, we just live in gray matter all the time.
Right.
Is why it's so interesting.
All right. So, as far as the rankings, like, where's ECW like in the wrestling? Where was it in the wrestling hierarchy?
Like right now, it's 6 feet under.
No, I know it's dead now. But when New Jack was in ECW,
3.
There was probably three major companies. There were three in the late
WWE.
90s, early 2000s was like a really great time to be a pro wrestling fan, especially being a 16, 17-year-old wrestling fan, because you had 3 wrestling companies on television.
Right.
And then if you had any local indies that were getting on television too, even better.
Okay.
You're getting even more wrestling.
Because it was WWE and WCF.
WCW.
Okay.
WCW. The only way it would have got better is the territory system, and you had a large satellite dish.
Right.
And you could just pick up stuff from Mid-South and Los Angeles or wherever. But like ECW was one of the top 3, and one of those things, ECW blurred a lot of lines as well.
Okay.
They would reference other companies and like, I got fired from this company because they wanted me to wear like a powder blue singlet and portray myself as a teacher, and that was bullshit. But right here, what we do is real, So they would reference other companies, things that you would know, or he would be like Shane Douglas would be in WWF and just like, oh, I'm a teacher and I'm this, and I'm a mean teacher. But then, like, when you go to ECW, it was like, Vince McMahon's an asshole. And people like, oh, fuck, like, acknowledge Vince as being the boss. Like, nobody said that on TV. And then reference that this was garbage and what we do here is real. So, like, not treating you like a moron, like, hey, you already know this about me, but guess what? That's true, but so is this. But then, like, they get him to believe this, which isn't true as well. So you could say something truthful, but then bring it up with something that's a little bit in the gray area, and then you can make them believe that even more.
Why you guys have any idea why you think like New Jack never moved up? I guess.
Well, here's a funny story about New Jack. He actually, I know it was discussed, and I remember the internet reports, the sheet writers, if you will. Yeah.
Fuck Dave Meltzer.
As you would say from early 2000 shoot interviews, the sheet writers. There was a report when John Cena. Early on in his career, I don't remember if you remember this angle or not, when John Cena was feuding with Carlito, and the storyline was that John Cena got stabbed in a nightclub. Mm-hmm. Like they did some storyline where that happened, and he couldn't, whatever happened, and that's what loves the bell, whatever. But they were wondering who was going to be the guy that stabbed John Cena in the nightclub. Well, obviously, when New Jack's stabbing people in real life,
it was going to be New Jack.
They brought New Jack in supposedly he cut promos to Shane McMahon.
What?
And they were thinking about it. And imagine how crazy that would have been.
New Jack in WWE. He would have been...
You mean that 2000 New Jack run?
like that would have been insane. I think this might have been like 2000. It would have been about the time he was stabbing people for real.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
They said that the promos he cut were very good, but they felt like him being on there wasn't going to work out. Just obvious for,
So he's just going to randomly say fuck when you're not supposed to.
Exactly. That's the thing too. Like he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he's gonna do what's the most believable to him.
Right.
Obviously, he'll beat the shit out of a 70-year-old.
He doesn't give a damn.
Like,
with no qualms.
No qualms to keep his character of New Jack to appear. Like he's not gonna not say the F word on live television
because he doesn't give one.
He doesn't fucking care. He doesn't fucking care.
That's wild.
But that was discussed, and they went with Aaron Aguilera, Jesus, and a legendary street fight, one-sided street fight where John Cena just beat the fuck out of him for like 20 minutes. And you never saw him ever again. I never understood why that happened. Like he just like. And he took him all the way around the arena and just beat the shit out of him and just beat him 1, 2, 3. Like he never had any offense. Like, and it was just so one-sided. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is a pay-per-view match. Shouldn't like the heel get a little bit of like
something to believe in?
Nothing. John Cena didn't sell shit.
Damn.
He showed him.
And it like went on for like a long time. Like it was like Bret Hart, Vince McMahon level, just beating for excruciating.
Did Bret Hart like beat the hell out of Vince McMahon?
Yeah, for like a really long
shots.
time. Yeah, it was just insane. Like it was of that level of painfulness. But yeah, I remember that being a thing. But yeah, it's one of those things that you're like, a lot of guys like that wouldn't have fit into that product.
Right.
You know, because
attempted murderer.
Right.
And that's just one of those things.
Justifiable homicides. Yeah. Not just an attempted murder, actual.
Coming off of like 2 counts of aggravated assault for 2 different people at 2 different wrestling shows.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Because that's the thing, too. If like John Cena had tried to have that same match from New Jack.
Right. It might have gotten really ugly.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would have been... Oh, that's such an interesting thing, like the politics of it.
Yeah.
Like, the people who end up moving up and who don't, because like when you watch wrestling, you never know that people start out somewhere else. Mm-hmm. You think you just get on. I never knew how it worked. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like comedians. Like when you see whoever on TV, you think, okay, they just wrote something and then went and did it. You don't realize like you got to work your way up. And I never knew it was like that with wrestling.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just a guy who was buff. And Vince McMahon saw him and said, "Oh, you should come wrestle WWE." I never knew that you worked your way up through this and this system.
Well, that actually is a thing too, where they just goes and looks for guys that look jack and they teach them how to wrestle.
Oh, okay.
That was very much a thing, especially in 2009, 2010. We're just now in kind of a renaissance where they finally found guys that worked their way up.
Oh, okay.
Like for a long time, that was the norm.
Just so get football players and fighters and
who were the guys who were like? Basically just hand-picked.
Kurt Angle?
Okay.
Kurt Angle, yeah. There's a couple guys that you wouldn't even know of anymore. Like there was Dan Rodmeyer. The story on him was that like Stephanie saw him walking on the street and he was like 7 foot tall and they signed him. What? Just walking down the street. Yeah. Like there's guys like that.
Khali.
The Great Khali?
Yeah, he was in movies before he was a wrestler.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know who he is. The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remake.
Okay.
There were a lot.
They wanted to up there, like they were just getting on TVs in India at the time, and they wanted to get celebrity. Get someone to get more people in India to watch.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there were a lot of guys like that. A lot of them fizzled out. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of them moved on and did whatever. You know, a lot of guys got trials for that, but now they've invested in guys that have been traveling the world. In the sense you get like a Daniel Bryant, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Like those guys were wrestling in Russia in 2008 or wrestling in the UK in 2009 when they were told that they weren't big enough or they didn't look a certain way, they weren't jacked enough, they weren't tan enough. These guys were working on their art and their craft. Okay. And now they've worked their way up. Where that's the way it is now, but for a while that was not the case. Like, so you were absolutely correct to assume that.
Oh man, okay.
So it's changed. It'd be like right now, like Netflix only giving Netflix specials to like YouTube personalities. Right. Like, you know, we're not going to give these comedians that tour every night and go to clubs and perform. We're going to give these people that already have a following, kind of know how to produce a show for it. They're the ones we'll teach them how to. We'll write jokes for them. Like, that's kind of. That's what it would have been.
That's basically what was happening. Okay.
So yeah, but that's we're all the better for it.
So much politics, man. You never know the behind the scenes until you really look at it.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Anything else we need to discuss? Should be noted the Balls Mahoney story in the bonus footage where he talked about the girl with the trash bag over her head? You guys remember that one?
I didn't hear that one.
Oh, you didn't hear that one. I think it's the best part of the whole documentary.
You really trying to make you stay around to the end?
Yeah. Basically,
It's just fucking some girl with a bag on her head.
no. Well, sort of. Basically, Balls Mahoney thought this girl was hyperventilating, but really she was having a seizure. And Balls thought the best thing to do when somebody hyperventilates is put a trash bag over their head. And New Jack just saw this bag going, like, and he's just like, New Jack was like, I can't be here. I'm black. I will be the first arrested. Bye. I'll see you later. Showed up the next morning. The girl had like sunglasses on because she had like bloodshot eyes.
Blood eyes, yeah.
And just watching Cartoon with Balls the next day.
What?
They just throw that crazy story in the bonus.
I'm not who Balls Mahoney is, but he sounds like the dumbest person to ever live.
Sure was.
To think putting a trash bag over somebody's head is the solution to hyperventilating.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like if we didn't close the podcast with that,
Balls.
we would have all kinds of complaints about.
If you
this.
saw Balls Mahoney, you'd be like, yeah, I can see him thinking that.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
And you'd also be like, man, he looks a lot like Zane Riley too.
Sure does.
I thought this is the thought I had about New Jack. Like New Jack is the kind of guy. He had the kind of life where it's only interesting if it's somebody that you don't know. Like, if you knew somebody who lived New Jack's life, you'd be like, you gotta slow down, man.
And what the fuck is wrong with you?
Exactly. You're like, you gotta chill out. But when it's somebody else, you're like, oh, wow, that is really interesting. Okay, yeah.
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 That's it.
That's Balls Mahoney.
He looks like somebody who would do that.
Yeah, put a trash bag on his head.
But, well, here's the $1 million question after watching this documentary. Would you hang out with New Jack? Devin.
Yeah. Because I've hung out with people like New Jack, so people like New Jack seem to want to hang out with me.
What does that say about you as a person?
Exactly. Like the guy I was talking about earlier, Zone. Him and the other crazy guy who got alcohol poisoning our first 3 days of college.
Good on him.
And got locked inside the room with a girl. Like, me and my friend, basically, they hung out with him because they were all from Houston. Well, the one guy was from Houston, and Zone was friends with the other guy because they lived in the same dorm. And somehow I just got pulled in, but every time they would be out, they were like, oh, let's go see what's up. And we would just end up around them doing whatever.
Doing Zone shit.
Doing Zone shit.
So the question isn't so much, would you? It's more of a question of, would you like it while you were hanging out with them?
It would probably be funny. It would probably be funny, and I would have a story to tell after.
Yeah.
Every time I've hung out with them, I have.
Yes.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Now, here's a question for you, Zane. I think people used to ask this in interviews. I think this was a Kevin Owens.
Oh, good.
A Kevin Steen show question. Would you wrestle New Jack?
Fuck yeah, I would. I wouldn't ask him to cut me. But yeah, a buddy of ours just wrestled him months ago.
White Mike?
White Mike.
Yeah.
White Mike versus New Jack.
Yeah. And to see White Mike, like, super pasty white dude with, like, this real shit porn stash. Looks like the Keystone Light Keith Stone guy. But, comes out, like, with an NWA t-shirt on.
Not National Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah, no, like...
the other acronym that I can't pronounce, yes.
I'll say it.
Like the guys with attitudes. Not the surf dudes with attitudes.
The young African-American men with attitudes.
Yes. The angered black youth. He wrestled him, and it was like, he said it was great. Like, New Jack took good care of him. So as long as you don't piss off New Jack for being a dumbass, yeah, I totally would. Because I wouldn't be a dumb fuck about it.
Yeah.
I would know going into this what's going to happen. I'd keep my blood. He could keep his blood. He could hit me with a stop sign. We'll go home happy.
I'd give him the same speech that I give everybody else that I wrestle. Any name. Like, listen, man. I'm not trying to get a job. This is my hometown. I'm here for you. We can do as much and as little as you want. Yeah. Whatever you want, I'm here for you. That's my speech, and I feel like that's the best way to survive.
Who's like the biggest person you guys wrestle?
I mean, it depends how you look at things. Like, I'd say Vader, and then
I feel like I've heard that name before.
And then like Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on if you want to talk about
current guys.
Yeah, current or past, or wrestled Rock and Roll Express, like they talk about in this DVD.
Yeah.
And you wrestled Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, I've wrestled Jerry Lawler.
I definitely have heard that name.
I've wrestled Jerry Lawler when he had Mick Foley in his corner while I had Terry Funk in my corner.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it gets too much bigger
No,
than
it
that.
doesn't.
Yeah.
And then I've also wrestled, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Even Seth Rollins very early in his career. So like, all kinds of,
So in that case, it's kind of a relative question, depending.
Yeah.
Because we're in a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Or we get to wrestle, guys that are of an older generation, a midget. Like I actually just wrestled Matt Hardy in December.
Really?
So like, I've wrestled guys that were a big deal when I was a kid. I wrestled guys that were a big deal before my generation.
Right.
I wrestled guys that are just now big deals.
Okay.
So I'm in this wonderful spot.
Like
it's one of the things when you don't move up the ladder and just kind of stay at the same spot.
Yep.
You'll catch them going up and going down.
The Boy Scout.
Everybody passes through you.
It's the Boy Scout thing. If you get lost, just stand still. They're more likely to find you. It's worked for the Man Scout. It's worked for a couple of us.
It's a proven formula.
It is. Man, if it ain't broke, don't fuck with it.
Exactly. Well, before we get out of here, Devin, you have a live microphone in front of you. This is going to drop, I believe, the second week in April. Is there any way that if people enjoy, this Devin kid's a great guy, or I want to figure out where he's doing some comedy and stuff like that, what social media stuff, what stuff you got going on?
Okay.
So just go ahead. You got a live microphone, go right ahead.
All right. I'm going to be on the Monstrous Comedy Showcase at Tuft in Charlotte, April 27th. You can find me on Twitter at Not As I Would. On Instagram, The Humble Student, and on Facebook at Devin Harris.
Okay. Any YouTube or anything else you need to plug? Or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Working on the website.
All right. Good deal. Well, I will probably pass that information along next time.
All right.
So anything I can do to help you. Zane, what do you got?
Well, we have just gotten back from WrestleMania at this moment, so I probably hate everyone that we know.
For sure. We might not be friends.
We probably will not be.
We won't be friends.
So if not, this is we might be very Devon and New Jack at this point.
Are you Biggie or am I Pac, or how's that work?
I guess body type alone, I got to be big.
Okay, I'll be Pac. All right.
You do have a bald head and a mustache as well.
Yeah,
you look like a white Tupac.
And I am sitting on the west part of the room right
you
now.
Are.
So.
I don't have a lazy eye though, but I'd fuck the shit out of Lil' Kim.
All right, we figured that out.
So I don't have anything. I hate wrestling. I'm jaded, and I'm probably contemplating quitting again.
Okay. Well, I will have a very busy week in the last week of April, I believe. I will be at the Comedy Zone for their open mic on April 18th. Then the 19th, I have the All Organic open mic at the Evening News, which Devin will probably be there as well as a Wednesday night show. Then I will be performing at the Cabarrus Brewery Company. That'll be another showcase with Jason Allen King will be there, Evan Pittsfield, and Brian Penn, not to be mistaken with Devin Harris.
Little inside joke
right there towards the end. Then I'll be with Big Time Wrestling April 21st. 22nd, I'll be at Icons of Wrestling. And then April 23rd, Northeast Wrestling. For information with those shows, BTW Pro and northeastwrestling.com. And as always, follow me on Twitter at ManScoutManning, which is also where you can file your complaints of the show. If you don't like what's going on, or like, hey, your audio sucks, or maybe you guys should do this, or say less of that, or whatever. Or, you didn't need to include that Balls Mahoney story.
Or maybe you can go fuck yourself.
Anything of that nature.
We don't care.
Yeah, contact me with the hashtag HDTGB, or you can just contact me on Twitter at ManScoutManning. And as always, make sure you check out the website, howdidthisgetbooked.com, where we have How Did This Get Booked t-shirts, as well as my own personal merch. And make sure you subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, hopefully by now Stitcher, hopefully that's gone through and stuff like that. Also to YouTube and SoundCloud. And please do leave a review on all of those platforms and subscribe wherever podcasts are available.
5 stars only.
5 stars only. If you get 1 star, go fuck yourself. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?